Fantastic. So, yeah, as a recording solutions vendor, we really specialize in two areas. So, one of which is compliance and delivering not just a recording solution to the market, but a compliant recording solution. And of course, compliance can mean many different things to many different types of customers. But our mission really is to just ensure that as a recording solution, CallCabinet allows customers to meet regulations regardless of the industry that they are in, and we can talk a little bit more about that as we go through the discussion today. And then the other sort of really key area of focus for us is really leveraging innovations in technology to enable our customers not only to record their calls in a secure and compliant manner, but also extract insights from those recorded conversations as well. So there's a lot going on, of course, with artificial intelligence and AI today, and there's lots of different applications for AI uh, across the communications channel. And where we specialize is taking recorded conversations at scale and leveraging AI to extract insights from those communications and recorded conversations. So that can obviously have massive benefits in a variety of different use cases, which we'll cover. Um, so that's really who we are. Um, we were founded just about 12, 13 years ago now, and we were really born out of the sort of converged unified communications era. We were born cloud native, so we really disrupted what was a very different industry in the call recording space prior to our arrival. We've been the innovators. We're now the global leaders in sort of cloud recording technology, and some of the stats on screen kind of bear that out. So we're at well over 5 billion minutes recorded annually. We've got thousands of customers and partners across the globe, and a good, healthy portion of those are customers in some of the most heavily regulated sectors uh, across the different verticals. For example, banking and finance, and that's a really good vote of confidence in CallCabinet. They are under the most stringent set of regulations around recording that there are. And so to have CallCabinet chosen time and time again by those customers really speaks to just how robust the solution is. One of the other sort of really important numbers on the screen is our 40 plus data centers across 6 continents. And this visual just kind of expands upon that a little bit. We think it's really important. We are a global vendor, and so we deliver solutions for customers across different regions in the globe, and we support that from an infrastructure point of view. So we've got data centers across 6 different continents, and I think it's about 45 different individual data centers. So we can support data sovereignty requirements for customers across all of these different regions. But additionally, as a global vendor, we also think it's very important to have that sort of localized presence and support as well. So we also do have regional offices as an organization covering Americas, UK, Europe, Africa, and APAC as well. So that's, I think, really important. I know on the call we've probably got quite an international and diverse set of service providers with probably customers all over the world, and it's important to have solutions in portfolio that can deliver locally compliant solutions across all of those different territories. I'm sure, Jason, it's the same for you guys as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jack. So we've got the same. We've got Europe, UK, all over the US, and then Australia as well, and we're adding more and more. So a lot of overlap here, and it's great to have that localized so you can adhere to the compliance regulations of each country. So yeah, good stuff.
Absolutely. So that really was just, I think, to set the scene. I know some of you in the audience have probably heard of and maybe dealt with CallCabinet before, but obviously just good for those who maybe are unaware of CallCabinet to have that context. The sort of the topic I want to dig into for this webinar is really why that conversation data is important. You know, what are the market drivers for a compliant recording solution and an intelligent recording solution? And there are lots of different sort of market drivers for it, and we'll delve into the specifics. So I think it's important, for those that are taking solutions like this to market, to sort of know um, uh, where the open doors are to sort of press against. And then I think also it's important, and the next portion of the webinar will drill into the specifics of the CallCabinet solution, um, the features we have, which are sort of unparalleled in the industry, and then we can get into what resources we make available to all of our partners to help them to win, and how that's obviously going to make drive success for your business as well. Um, so yeah, so with that in mind, I think the key conversation, the key question is, why is conversation data important? Um, and what do we mean by conversation data? Um, that's a sort of a relatively new term, and it's important to frame it like that, because we are in a very data conscious world today. Um, we're seeing new regulations coming in all the time around data protection, like in Europe with GDPR, and others as well. So conversation data, effectively recorded phone conversations, is absolutely crucial, and important for organizations from a couple of different perspectives. And I want to address sort of the two sides of the coin as we would see it
Yeah.
today. So
Jack, well,
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of compliance. I mean, it's,
yeah,
there's Dodd-Frank, and then it depends on which country and continent you're on.
yeah.
I mean, what are the challenges you guys are facing and solving ultimately for partners like ourselves?
Yeah, and that is the question, right? And it definitely depends on the end customer, because you're right. In different industries, like in the financial services sector, you have very specific requirements. They are mandated by law to record conversations, just to ensure kind of the transparency is there for all participants in financial markets. Um, but there's also sort of, in sort of public sector and government and healthcare services, there's a sort of duty of care and responsibility that they have to the clients that use their services. So there are lots of different sort of mandates and laws around who must record calls, how long those calls need to be retained for, the level of security around ensuring integrity of those recordings, and there's a plethora of different requirements, and of course cross sector as well. You have um, uh, lots of different companies recording calls for different reasons, but where they're recording and storing what is potentially sensitive customer conversations, there's also sort of more broad data protection regulations as well, like GDPR in Europe, as well. So really, the mission of CallCabinet is just to ensure that whoever the customer is, whatever industry sector they're in, whatever regulatory standards they have to abide by when recording conversations. CallCabinet is a solution that can meet those requirements. Um, and we have a very healthy number of customers in the financial services sector, kind of as a result of some of those specific regulations. Um, and just one of the stats on the screen that kind of bears that out, and sort of that's still a very important driver of business for a solution like CallCabinet. In 2024, the regulators have just like tightened their enforcement around, their compliance with their regulations in financial markets, and that's not just sort of isolated to like Europe, which is kind of well known for its heavy regulation, but also in the US, the SEC, the CFTC, they're recording unprecedented levels of enforcement activity. And in the UK, which now kind of, as everyone knows, sits outside that European regulatory bubble to an extent, the FCA tripled their enforcement actions from the previous year. And you'll have to excuse me because the lights in the office um, went off because of a timer. So let me just switch those back on.
That's funny. And Jack, I noticed. I mean, you've got a list of compliance logos and stuff there on your website. You got a full list. I mean, from PCI, Dodd Frank, and so if folks want to see, if you don't see any compliance
Yeah.
logos there, the full list is on their website, and it's probably 2 or 3 times that size. So just for
Yeah, and as I said, you can split it up into different sectors, right? So in healthcare, you've got HIPAA. And of course, in financial services, you've got a long list of acronyms. You've got, of course, the different regulators like the SEC, CFTC, the FCA. You've also got specific directives and regulations like MiFID II, like ESMA, and so on, as well as sort of the broader regulations like GDPR, as well. So we certainly help customers who have those sort of mandates for recording and retention, to meet those regulatory requirements. Um, but there's sort of another component to that sort of that compliance market driver, which is, the reason why those calls have to be recorded is because there is the potential for misconduct, for illicit behaviors, and certainly um, the the cost of non-compliance with those kind of codes, those laws. It's of course great to have those calls recorded, but also you want to potentially leverage the recording technology to identify um, sort of potential misconduct before it becomes a huge fine, right? And the cost of non-compliance with both record keeping and sort of conduct laws is huge. And so, and it's quite interesting. This was from the Financial Times. Voice conversations tend to harbour um, 10 times more misconducts than sort of other sort of written communication channels, so things like email or instant messaging. And I think that's maybe just human nature, where individuals, they feel like voice conversations have less permanence to them, and so having a recording solution to capture those conversations is essential, and it's mandated by law. But what we can also do now with some of the innovations around AI, which we're going to come on to in a moment, um, you can also leverage that technology to also identify high risk conversations as well, and stop that from becoming a compliance issue further down the line. So surveillance as well as sort of record keeping compliance is also something that CallCabinet supports customers with, and that's the key message is compliance is not really an option. The cost of non-compliance, the level of enforcement activity the regulators undertake, is substantial, and it can cripple a business, particularly some of the smaller and medium-sized organizations in these regulated sectors. So these are organizations that are willing to invest in a robust, compliant recording solution now more than ever. But yeah, just to kind of switch gears a little bit. So, and I touched on it a moment ago, the artificial intelligence sort of driver, and of course that kind of bleeds into compliance a little bit, but also much more broadly, and the biggest driver of intelligent recording solutions, such as CallCabinet now, um, is really the idea that you can massively boost productivity within your organization by understanding the content of conversations that are being had with customers. um, and the market is speaking for itself. There really was no market for what we call voice analytics 10, 20 years ago. It's now estimated in the next 4 years to grow to about just over $7 billion in 2029. So that's a huge market. um, and obviously, being the audience, being part of the communications um, sort of service industry, you're at the bleeding edge of that technology, and you're actually able to capitalize on that market opportunity in quite a big way. And CallCabinet is there to help you do that. And so what we do, and we'll come on to the features as we get through the webinar, but we can take those recorded conversations, we can apply artificial intelligence to help you understand the content of those conversations, the sentiment behind those conversations, the context behind each of those conversations, and allow you to report on that, to deliver intelligence back to the business and pick up on trends, patterns, um, how agents are performing within a contact center, how customers are responding to your product and your services, um, identify areas for training, and so on. And in fact, there's also like a welfare component to this as well, because particularly in sort of contact centers, um, it's interesting. More than 80% of contact center agents would say that they're either burnt out or imminently going to be burnt out. There's a big sort of buzz around sort of agent welfare in contact centers at the moment. And of course, if you do allow your agents to be burnt out, that's going to cause staff absence and potentially churn and performance issues. So leveraging an analysis tool that will actually show you um, where the outcomes of conversations that you're having with your customers are suffering as a result of burnout, um, that can be of massive benefit to an organization as well. So there are so many different examples whereby um, not just having a compliant recording solution, but one that's intelligent that can deliver insights back to you can give you a massive advantage as an organization. Um, so that kind of hopefully sets the scene as to what the market drivers are. Um, and this slide really just mirrors that previous one in terms of how we've applied that technology in real life scenarios across the market. And of course, we do have a number of customers in those regulated sectors, and I'm sure some of the names on screen are familiar to you guys as organizations, and they're leveraging CallCabinet technology today across financial services, insurance, healthcare, public sector, government, and so on. And so we help these organizations comply with a range of regulations. But then there is also this massive sort of cross-sector um, drive of business for us, and we're seeing lots of well-known uh, sort of household names and brands begin to leverage technology as well as smaller businesses. And this is typically where they've got this sort of customer facing interface through their communications tools. So they're having conversations every day on the phone with their customers, and they want to extract insights from those conversations. And so, yeah, we've got a wide range of customers across various different sectors that leverage that technology. I think you're
And Jack,
Jason.
one question. I mean, these are great logos to have, right? You've got
Yeah.
banking through car manufacturers, well, the big car manufacturers. What are some of the examples of what they're doing with regards to the call recording and analytics? If you can share that, at least at a high level.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got I mean, some of the specific companies we've got on screen now, they've had some big challenges, right? Because some of these are multinational organizations. Uh, they've got recording requirements across different offices and branches in different countries around the world. And historically, they may have had different solutions, independent silos of recording data. It's very difficult to get any kind of reporting or analysis when everything is fractured in such a way. Um, and it's difficult to manage that as well. And so we've been able to deploy a centrally managed global solution that still allows them to comply with sort of local data sovereignty regulations. They're still storing their calls in region, but it gives them a central repository. They can get all the analytics and reporting they would like to get from those conversations, from those calls. They can manage everything. They can deploy it all centrally, but ultimately they can still comply with all those local regulations. So that's just an example. But as I said, we solve lots of different problems for these clients, and that's the beauty of it from an opportunity perspective. Um, Whoever the customer is, whatever the size they are, whatever industry they're in, there is a great scenario in which CallCabinet can support their requirements. Um, okay, so hopefully that gives you a bit of insight into what's driving the market demand for CallCabinet as a solution. And I guess by now you guys are familiar with what we do, which is call recording and analytics. But I want to really get in now to the specifics of the CallCabinet solution, show you some of the features and what's available, and really get down into the detail of it. So
Perfect. Sorry,
yeah,
sorry, Jack. Just a quick
yeah,
question we got from David Thompson on the chat there.
sure.
And this is a good segue, right? Does the solution support TLS and secure RTP?
Yeah. Good question, and yeah, it is a good segue because it gets into the details and specifics. So we have a wide range of integrations and protocols that we support. One of the things that we're really proud of is we're very platform focused, and so we have developed a seamless integration between CallCabinet and the NetSapiens platform. Um, if you've got sort of specific detailed technical questions, if they're not answered throughout the rest of the presentation, We'll try to cover as much ground as possible, but I definitely encourage to reach out afterwards. And we've got a fantastic pre-sales support team as well that can help with some of those questions. But yeah, we're extremely proud to be the approved compliance recording vendor integrated with the NetSapiens platform, and that's really important for us. And we cover all of those sort of market demands and use cases that we mentioned previously in the presentation. CallCabinet has the feature set to cover that. So compliant recording solution with all the analytics layered on top, with quality assurance tools. We've got all the sort of military grade encryption. We allow customers to retain their data for as long as is necessary for their regulatory requirements in financial services. Often that's like a 7-year retention period. That's not a problem with CallCabinet. It's licensed in such a way that it's scalable. It's uncapped storage. It's also multi-tenanted in its infrastructure, so it's very easy to deploy multiple sites, multiple tenants of CallCabinet for either an individual customer with global presence, or for multiple customers with that global data sovereignty. And then, of course, we've got all of those AI-powered features like transcription, sentiment analysis, keyword and topic detection, and so on. And this, we're going to get into some of the specifics now of the solution and show you some sort of live screenshots as well. This hopefully is kind of a penny drop moment for some of you on the call. It tends to be when we go through the presentation on webinars. There is a sort of a legacy feeling around call recording as a topic, that it is very much a tick box feature, kind of a grudge purchase for a customer. It's something that organizations maybe have to have, and so they switch it on. It's kind of commoditized. And what we're saying now is that, well, actually, we've got an advanced recording solution that delivers real value back to customers, and it's something that our partners can monetize, and it delivers a whole lot more than just simply call recording. And this is very high level, but it's showing you some of the additional features we can layer in, like desktop screen recording and sort of AI generated analysis and summaries. We've got the ability to redact payment card information and so on from recordings, and we've got all these intelligent dashboards as well. So it really is a suite of solutions that sort of built on a foundation of a secure recording solution, but delivers a whole raft more value for customers, and it's something that can really generate additional value back to them and their organizations. So I'm going to sort of take you through almost a customer journey in the CallCabinet solution. What we've tried to do with the solution is build an interface that's really sort of accessible and intuitive. So it's easy for customers to navigate. Accessibility is also something that's really important where you're trying to deliver new web-based applications into a customer, particularly the larger they get, the more stringent they get around accessibility standards and so on. So we've recently refreshed our user interface as well, with accessibility at the forefront. We've got a new light and dark mode, which I've been toggling back and forward for hours on end the last few days. But also we've made the navigation really easy, and it's also very secure as an interface as well. It's you've got full roles-based access, so whoever within a customer's organization should have access to the platform can be delegated specific credentials tied to specific user permissions, and everything is sort of audit logged in the platform as well. So we've built an interface that's very secure, very accessible, and very intuitive. And right from the outset, once you access the platform, you're getting insights. You can see sort of, this is the home page that you can see on the screen here, and it gives you quick insights into call volume activity and activity across the platform as well.
Jack, we got a couple of great questions coming in on the
Sure.
chat here. Jeff and Alan asking similar questions here. Does the sentiment analysis tool provide tonal sentiment? And
Yeah.
do you support multiple languages?
Great questions and impeccable timing as well, because that leads perfectly onto this slide. So, um, yeah, really good question. So, the way that we perform what we describe as sentiment analysis incorporates a combination of factors. The first factor is, of course, the analytics engine is able to take the unstructured audio and turn it into struct text, so it transcribes it from audio to text, and it, of course, can analyze the content of that transcript. And so part of it is, of course, the words that are spoken, whether or not they're positive or negative in nature. Um, but a really crucial part of it as well is what we would describe as acoustic intelligence. So very much the tonality. So not just what was said, but how those words were spoken. That's crucial in determining whether a call was positive or negative in nature. Um, and to the second question around the different languages that we support. So we support, um, I think I want to say 52 different languages and dialects. It's certainly more than 50. Um, and so, yes, we support a number of different languages and also dialects within those languages. So, for example, with English, we have different language packs for UK English versus North American English um, versus Indian English, for example. Um, and yeah, we also there's a certain language couples that we also support for what we call multi-language transcription. So, for example, we have some customers with contact centers where they will handle calls from customers, and they may switch between English and Spanish throughout the conversation, and our engine's able to determine utterance by utterance what the correct language is. It's able to identify the language and transcribe it correctly as well. So we have a very advanced speech recognition engine sat behind CallCabinet, and yeah, it supports a wide range of languages, dialects, and couplings as well. Um,
One other question, Jack, before we move on,
yeah,
uh, separate from the sentiment analysis, more about the storage.
yeah,
Is the platform hosted in multiple regions, not just the storage?
yeah. Good question. So yeah, we do also have the ability to deploy the recording service across different regions as well. So yes, you can deploy the actual recording service as well as the storage across different regions for data sovereignty purposes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And then on the sentiment analysis, back on sentiment,
Yeah,
is it
yeah.
run real time or after the call?
So it's what we call post processing. So it's available pretty much immediately once the call is completed. You'll see the call come through alongside the sentiment analysis, and it's it's very important um, for our solution to deliver that. It's not quite what we call real time. It's not delivering you sentiment during the call, but as soon as that call is complete, because what we are able to do, and this slide shows it perfectly, is we're able to um, deliver some of that intelligence to you throughout the user experience. So when you come into Call Cabinet and you access what we call our call listings page here, you're actually able to filter the list of recordings you have in a number of different ways. And sentiment is actually one of those ways you can filter your calls. So actually, it's very easy for you to come into Call Cabinet and just in a couple of clicks pinpoint the list of conversations that your organization has had that have had sort of negative tonality attached to them. Um, so that can massively make um, the process of sort of quality monitoring far more efficient. You're no longer looking for a needle in the haystack. You can really identify specific types of conversations very quickly. Um, Another example of that is we've also got uh, a search filter across our call listings that can allow you to search for keywords and phrases throughout the transcripts of all of the calls as well. Um, so if you just want to show a list of calls where the word NetSapiens is mentioned throughout the conversation, you can do that very quickly. And of course, there's lots of different reasons why you'd want to identify calls with specific context. But ultimately, we make that process very quick and easy to do straight from our interface. So, um, yes, we've got all this great intelligence built into the platform, but we also make the user experience um, intelligent as well and allow you to make use of all of that insight as you go through journey of using the CallCabinet solution.
Great. Okay, thanks. I'll come back to some other questions later on. I know we're running a little behind here.
No problem at all. So once you've identified maybe a call that you want to interrogate a little bit further, we've got what we call our view call page, and it expands a call into much more detail. And you'll notice a few things pretty much instantly when you look at the screen. So straight away, of course, you can play back the recording. What you can also do is you can see an AI generated summary of that call. So it could be a conversation that is 2 hours long, but straight away you know what that call was about. You've got a summary of that call. You can copy that call. You can export that call summary out. You can maybe put it in your CRM system to update a record, to make a note of the interaction you've just had. And what you can also see is some very quick visual analytics from that call as well. So straight away you can see we've got an interactive word cloud there. So we can see the specific topics that were discussed during that conversation. And actually it's interactive, because if you then click through into one of the words in that word cloud, it will take you to that part of the transcript, and you can see very quickly where that context arose throughout the conversation. So you can pick up very quickly and understand the key context throughout the call. You can also see a sentiment journey throughout the conversation as well. So you can see not just an overall sentiment score for that call, but also where it started, how it progressed, and how it finished. And this is also really critical, because if you are analyzing a call for in a help desk environment, for example, a customer support scenario, the call may start off very negatively, because a client may call in annoyed or frustrated because they've got an issue, and actually the call could end up very positive at the end because that issue has been resolved. So we actually get into the nuance of that, and it's not just about assigning an average sentiment score, but also about showing the journey of that sentiment. And we can also pick up on things like silence throughout the call, and also cadence, so sort of how fast the parties on the call are talking. And that can give you some real insight into the productivity of that call as well. As you're listening back to a call, one thing I mentioned previously is that redaction piece. This is really important for compliance purposes as well, and this applies cross-sector. So we do have the ability with AI to automatically redact sensitive information that's verbally exchanged throughout a recorded conversation. This has been a major issue for customers for a long time, particularly when we talk about exchanging information such as payment card information. And so our AI engine has the intelligence to automatically detect credit card numbers, CVV numbers, expiry dates, and automatically redact them from call audio. So it's a fantastic solution because you can just switch it on. There's no development work to integrate a phone system with a payment processing gateway. If there's a verbal exchange of payment card information throughout the call, the AI will redact it from the recording. It's not limited purely just to payment card information, though. We refer to it, rather than being PCI compliance, as broadly PII compliance. So there's lots of different types of sensitive private information that can be exchanged in conversations with clients: names, dates of birth, addresses, social security numbers, and also private health information as well, specific to the healthcare sector. And actually, our AI engine can detect and redact automatically around 50 different types of entities. And it will redact it both from the audio and also the transcription of the call as well. So really important for certain types of companies that will verbally exchange this very sensitive information. They do want to record their calls to for a raft of reasons. Could be for compliance reasons, for training and quality purposes, but it's imperative that they cannot have that sensitive information stored in their recordings. And so we have the ability to automatically redact that, and it's very easy solution to deploy. Again, there's no development work involved. You can simply switch it on for a customer and it will automatically redact that information from the recordings. Just to kind of delve into a little bit more the transcription and sort of the interaction you can have with the transcription data. Um, I touched on it previously, but you've got the ability to, of course, use the word cloud to sort of highlight key context throughout the conversation. You can, of course, do your own keyword searches. We also leverage sort of the more the language models and the contextual AI innovations now to automatically detect topics and action points that have occurred throughout a conversation as well. And personally, I find this really valuable when I look back at recordings of my own conversations. If I've demoed the CallCabinet solution to a partner or to a customer, I can go back and look at that, and I can very quickly highlight any action points I have from that conversation, the specific topics that were discussed. It helps me massively with updating my CRM system, updating leaders in the business, and also making sure I followed up on all of the relevant action points. If I didn't have time to manually write notes throughout the conversation, it allows me to do that. And of course, from a supervisor's point of view as well, if there's a long conversation, it helps you to pick up on that key context very quickly. Just sort of minimize the length of time it takes to assess that call for quality and training purposes. Um, we do also have a way to sort of add even more automation to that process. We have a full what we call a QA suite, so quality assurance tools. So you can actually build out evaluation forms and scorecards, and you can enable the AI engine underneath CallCabinet to automatically assess 100% of conversations against the criteria you've set up and deliver you reports and insights against that. And truthfully, there's lots of different examples of where this could be of benefit. Um, of course, in a contact center, making sure the correct corporate greeting is being used, the right products and promotions are being mentioned throughout a conversation, the right closing messages are given, and so on. Um, but also, for example, in the compliance space as well, where we've got a lot of existing customers using the platform, we've upsold the QA software to them, the QA edition to them on a number of occasions, because they can actually use this to automate their compliance checking procedures. They can automatically detect evaluate calls based on whether the right compliance statements were read out at at the start of the conversation, whether particularly high risk topics were discussed throughout a call, um, and so on. So uh, if a compliance officer, a QA analyst, they may have the ability to manually interrogate and listen back to 5% of conversations that an organization has. Um, an artificial intelligence engine can automatically assess 100% of those conversations. And so it's designed not to necessarily fully replace those functions, but certainly to augment them and make them more efficient. And we've, again, as with the rest of our user interface, we've built it in such an intelligent way that we can ensure that uh, those processes are built seamlessly and in line with maybe existing practices within an organization as
Jack,
well.
Jack, we got a couple more questions here, and no, we're a little behind on time, but to get
Sure.
through the slides. But if you can briefly touch on, um, are there any? What's the configuration or scope of the types of data redacted? Is it all none or somewhere in the middle with regards to scope of the ability to configure redaction?
Yeah, good question. So we do have some documentation around this and the list of entity types that we support for redaction. I mentioned some of the sort of the most obvious examples, which would be payment card information. So that would be uh, credit card numbers, CVV numbers, expiry dates, and so on. But there is a full list of them, and there is some configuration and customization you can do within some of those as well. So probably the best thing, if there's a specific use case or example, would just be to reach out to us afterwards, and we can go into more depth, and I can obviously certainly share the list of entity types that
Okay.
we support afterwards.
Perfect. Perfect. And it's somewhat similar. Well, actually, not redaction, but can you set triggers in the word cloud for specific words? Customers configure that of their interest.
Yeah, absolutely. So that ties in quite nicely actually to this next slide. So um, we also have the ability for you to create a number of custom reports and analytics dashboards. So you can, for example, monitor interactions by topic. So if there are certain topics that you want to monitor for, because you're interested in seeing what topics are driving calls into your business, what's of most interest to your customers, which topics are most frequent in conversations. You can certainly pre-configure those and include them in those dashboards. Um, and we also have quite a straightforward keyword alerts tool as well. So you can go into the settings and you can create an alert to be notified when a specific keyword or phrase is mentioned throughout a conversation. So you don't even have to go in and sort of interrogate a dashboard or a call. You can just be automatically notified as an end customer when a particular word or phrase is mentioned. And this has got tons of really good use cases. So it like to go back to the compliance example, if you're a compliance officer and working for a hedge fund, um, you might want to know when particular uh, trades or security names of certain words are mentioned throughout a conversation, or you may want to be notified if someone discusses mentions in a conversation an insecure line of communication like WhatsApp or Hotmail or something like that. That would be a majorly high risk situation, and you wouldn't want to necessarily have to look at a dashboard to know about that. So we also have those instant alerts for certain keywords as well. So um, yes, the word cloud is there to show you in a call what was discussed, but also if there are certain sort of elements and specific scenarios that you're really looking out for, you can configure that within our QA tooling, within our reporting and dashboards, and within our keyword alerts tool as well.
Okay, great.
Cool. Okay. Well, look, that's gets really into at a high level the different facets of the CallCabinet solution. Each aspect of this we could go into more detail on, and I would certainly encourage everyone in the audience, if they find any of this interesting, to please reach out to us. We're more than happy to get into sort of live demonstrations of each of these features. But obviously for today we're relatively limited on time. Um, there's a lot of scope for customizing and extracting real insights using these reports and dashboards. And each customer is different, so we're more than happy to engage and kind of go through discovery and hopefully present a solution around analytics that's tailored to each customer requirement as well. Um, just to kind of to wrap up, we've got a great solution, and we've been through really the different drivers in the market for that solution. But the important thing for our service provider partners to know is how they can turn that into revenue and how that benefits them. And so just take you through sort of our license model and the resources available to you guys. So we've got a very simple license model actually. We've sort of, it's a tiered license model. So it makes the solution accessible to all different types of customers. Um, and we've also made it that way so that it's very easy to upgrade from sort of our core entry level compliant recording product through to those premium features. And that's, the real opportunity. We mentioned earlier on that multi-billion pound industry for voice analytics, and artificial intelligence is something that more and more end customers are investing in over time. And with CallCabinet you have the opportunity to implement a really robust recording solution at the entry level, and sort of upsell that over time into some of those QA features, the conversation analytics features that we mentioned, transcription, redaction, sentiment analysis, the dashboards, and you can go from uh, anywhere from doubling your revenue per seat through to 10xing your revenue per seat, just by adding CallCabinet into deals. And so this is why it's hugely beneficial, not just as an enabler, in those deals, but also as a way to massively increase revenue as well. And just also to mention, it kind of sits outside of our license model. We also do have a range of professional services that we can support our partners and customers with. We've got a fantastic analytics team as well, that can really deliver fantastic training to customers that want to make the most of those dashboards and tools. And we also have a data migrations team. So if you've got customers that maybe sat on legacy recording infrastructure, maybe they've got on-premise recording solution, we would like to migrate them to the CallCabinet cloud, and we have a team that is able to take that legacy data and bring it into CallCabinet, and so that they no longer have to maintain their old recording solution, which they may be tied to if they have to retain those calls for a multi-year period. So that's it really. You know, we've been through it. The challenges that partners have around sort of increasing profitability and revenue per seat, the penetration of some of those very heavily regulated verticals. We feel the CallCabinet solution is a great tool for the kit bag for that. Another thing that CallCabinet really helps with is customer churn. Call recording, specifically compliant recording, is a naturally very sticky solution because of the nature of having to retain that data for a period of time. And so we find that once CallCabinet is in with a customer, it's very rare that they would move away. And in particular, because we deliver it as a service and it's always being updated, it never kind of goes out of date or out of support, and they would never really be prompted to look for anything else. And then, of course, another challenge that partners faced is just streamlining sales and marketing. And as a vendor, as a technology vendor, we are very proactive in that sense. So I'm going to just reference it in a moment, but we've got a brilliant partner portal. We've got fantastic marketing asset library. We've got hopefully a fantastic sales support team across the different regions as well. So our partners do, and I would encourage them to lean on CallCabinet as a resource for sales and marketing. The more that we can help with to help you guys bring CallCabinet to market and win with CallCabinet, the more that we will help. So yeah, those are the resources. If you're interested at all in anything that CallCabinet offer that I've mentioned today, if you think any of your customers may find that of interest, I would definitely recommend scanning the QR code that you've got on the screen now. That will prompt you to go to our partner portal and sign up for an account. You'll immediately have access then to our asset library with product sheets and information. We've got co-branding support for that. So if you wanted to have that as a leave behind for your customers after having a conversation, you can have that branded up with your own logo and contact information. That's easy to do from the portal. And we also, from within there, have things like deal registration and protection as well. If you're working on some RFPs, if you need sort of commercial or pre-sale support, it's important that you register those opportunities with us. And we're expanding the content in the partner portal as well, and we're going to include some great videos as well, so to help you learn about the CallCabinet solutions and some of the great features that we've got as well. So I would definitely encourage anyone to scan the QR code and register for an account on the partner portal. Failing that, it's also partner.callcabinet.com. That is the way to access the partner portal. So yeah, I mean, with that, I just want to say thank you very much. We've just about made it in time. So yeah, please reach out to us after the webinar. Our contact details are on screen. Whoever your regional contact at CallCabinet is for support around CallCabinet, yeah, just reach out via email or give us a call. And then I'm going to throw it back to Jason and just say thank you very much, Jason, for hosting us as well. And also, yeah, reach out to Jason if you've got any questions, and he can field them in the right direction.
This is great. Don't run yet, Jack. We got a few questions, and
Yeah,
this is great interaction from the team from our partners here. So we've got a couple ones left here. So for keyword alerts, can those trigger real-time emails to admins? and that sort of ties in with reports. If you can touch on what sort of reports are available as well, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's what that keyword alerting tool is designed to do. So it's not real time in the sense of uh, live during the call, but as soon as that call is completed and the recording is processed, if one of those keyword alerts has been triggered, it will fire off an immediate email to an admin. Whoever's been allocated as the alert recipient will receive that. Um, what's also quite cool is that we have there's a webhook functionality to that as well. So if you wanted to push that alert through to another application or a dashboard, something that you've built as a business, you can also do that as well. So if there are particular sort of high risk or high concern alerts that you've configured, you can push those out to dashboards that you monitor, applications, as well as just sort of simple emails as well.
Okay, perfect. And then recordings at rest. What is
Yeah.
it the call cabinet does from a that you can at least share on the call does
Mhm.
to fend off hackers, to try and break into that storage and get access for malicious intent.
Yeah, absolutely. So recordings are encrypted both in transit and at rest. We use military grade encryption, so it's a 256-bit rotating encryption key. Um, Effectively, every single call has a unique encryption key. So there are no sort of group encryption keys. If a very sophisticated hacker was ever able to decrypt a single call, they would not have access to a wide set of data. Um, that touch wood, that's never happened. Um, Ultimately, the only way to decrypt a call is by accessing it through the call cabinet application and playing it back in the browser. Um, Even whilst it's in storage, there's no way for anyone to, even if they were to physically get to that data center and somehow break in, um, there would be no way for that call to be decrypted. They would have to access it through the application with the relevant permissions to do that. So we've got a very robust method by which we store calls, encryption, the data center security. It's of a very robust standard. We've got ISO 27001 certification as well. And if there's any more sort of questions that anyone has around that, any documentation, certifications that partners would like to see, just reach out to us and we can provide that for them.
Great. Right, two more questions here, Jack.
Sure.
As folks want to squeeze in a few more questions, feel free to post in the chat. But this is a great question from Jeff, and hopefully it never comes to fruition. But when a customer leaves the service provider, what
Yeah.
options do they have to gather their recordings or dispose of
Yeah, good question. So we don't hold the customer data hostage because ultimately it is their data. So there are methods by which they can extract the data from Call Cabinet. Um, we would never recommend that. Of course, Core Cabinet provides the highest standard of compliance, archival, and storage that there is on the market. And we're able, in most cases, to continue the service with the end customer once they've left the service provider. So, um, in some ways, it's a great way to keep a foothold in the estate when customers are looking at leaving. Sometimes call recording, having a great recording solution in place can stop them, or at the very least, it can keep you in the estate. You can continue that relationship. Call Cabinet future proofs them for whatever scenario they've got. So, yeah, I'd say it's rare, but there are ways that recordings can be extracted from Call Cabinet.
And then Jeff come back in with a great follow-on question for that.
Yeah.
There's other artifacts such as transcription, summary topics, etc. Um,
Mhm.
is it able to bundle those together for offload from your platform? Not just the recording, but
Yeah.
the meta, anything else around it.
Yeah. So we've got an extensive set of APIs and webhook functions that can export all of that data, the recordings, links to recordings, the call metadata, some of the AI generated uh, data as well. So yeah, because we see that as more and more, there's more and more of an emphasis on being able to push that data out into CRM systems and things like that. And so we've developed a set of APIs and webhooks that can cater to that requirement.
Great. Do you have a data center in Canada for recording storage?
Yes.
Okay. And then the last one, I think the reports might be a little more involved, Rod. So I'll probably recommend reaching out to Jack directly. And the last one was more around just on the continue on the call recording. Oh no, we've done that. So I think we're good. Maybe a little more on reports. If you can maybe reach out to Jack directly. It looks like we're at the top of the hour here. So Rod, if you
Yeah.
can reach out to Jack, you got his details here. I really appreciate it, Jack. Much
No
appreciated.
problem.
Great webinar. Clearly, you guys are best of breed in the industry. And the two things that resonated for me is increasing the MRR for our partners and then making themselves sticky, right? That as you call it, staying on the real estate or on the estate. So much appreciated. For more contacts, folks, if you want more details, feel free to reach out to the team here from CallCabinet. And then if you're with regards to Crescendo, reach out to your rep or myself for more details, and we can get you the answers you're looking for. Next up in the series will be TelCloud, which we're looking to do in probably 2 to 3 weeks' time. So hopefully we'll start promoting that in a lot more detail around POTS replacement, and we've got a great best of breed partner there. So much appreciated again, Jack, and thanks for your
Thank you.
time, and everybody else. Thank you very much for your time. I will be sending the recording out along with the questions, so you can get the answers and everything else there. So much appreciated, and talk to you soon. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
I will be sending the slides. That was one question as well. Thank you. Bye bye.
Take care all. Bye bye.